Hi, this is Dr. Tom Rogers at Performance Medicine, coming to you with a weekly podcast. I call it the Common Sense MD. Now, the whole reason I formed Performance Medicine 17 years ago really has a lot to do with what I'm going to talk about today. Really to combat the obesity epidemic. It's really got sick of writing medicine after medicine all day long for my patients for their diabetes, their hypertension, their cholesterol, and then their depression and their arthritis in their knees. Really, we live in an obese country, and it's getting worse. We're getting fatter and we're living less. It's unbelievable. The last 2 years, longevity measurements have come down instead of up. That's never happened before. So, in continuing to talk about the obesity epidemic and my fight for my patients to get leaner and healthier and happier so they don't have to be on all these medications which have side effects or costly, and it's just not the answer. The answer really is what you put in your mouth. At least that's the most important thing. So I'm going to talk about processed foods today and really why they're so bad for you. 100 years ago, there weren't any fat people. And really what brought this to light when I started thinking about it is because, as most people know out there that watch me, 2 of my own children are type 1 diabetics from a young age. And they both took separate trips, one to England, one to Italy, this past summer for 2 weeks. Separate trips. Of course, being a type 1 diabetic, you have to really monitor your sugars, monitor your intake. You really have to be careful. And the amazing thing about it is when they came back, they both told me the same story. Their sugars were very level, even, not high, and they ate whatever they wanted. They wanted to enjoy all the foods of the culture, and they ate more than they usually do. And they came back with normal sugars. Their averages were great, and they actually lost a little bit of weight. So I started thinking about that, and why did they lose a little bit of weight and have even blood sugars when they were in Europe? I thought, well, maybe they walked more, but really they probably did walk more, but they didn't exercise at all. And here they exercise every day hard. So they came back feeling better. Even Andy's eczema cleared up, and they just felt better over there. And they lost a little bit of weight while eating great food, savory food, and lost weight. So I started really doing a deep dive on this. And really, the thing is, in Europe, they don't add a lot of the additives to the food that we do here in the United States. Look at the people over there. They're definitely not as fat. They're more in shape. They seem happier. They don't take as many medications as we do over here. And they're just healthier. They live longer. So it's the additives that we put in our food over here. They really do not allow some of the things over there that we allow here. We're really bought out by the food industry, in my opinion. Examples: titanium dioxide, brominated vegetable oils. These are all banned over there. Azodicarbonides, propylparabens. One big one is potassium bromate. It's a carcinogen that's banned in Europe, China, and India. We allow it here. So even things like Gatorade, which has yellow 5 and 6, is banned in a lot of countries in Europe, especially for their kids. Think about that, Gatorade. Coffee Mate, Ritz crackers, Pillsbury biscuits. They're all banned in most European countries because of trans fats like partially hydrogenated soybeans and cottonseed oils. This is stuff we eat in the general American diet every day. It's no wonder Americans are so much bigger and fatter than people in other countries. I personally know a food engineer at a well-known potato chip factory headquarters. I won't name him because I don't want to get him in trouble. But he told me, this was a few years ago, he told me that his only job was to make the chips more tasty, last longer, and more addictive. The main thing was addictive through chemicals. So when you think that you see advertised healthy cereals, soups, yogurts, and granola are good for you, think again, because they're not. These are ultra-processed foods, meaning they contain ingredients you wouldn't find in a normal home kitchen, like high fructose corn syrup, emulsifiers. In fact, around 58% of the calories that adults and kids over age 1 eat come from ultra-processed foods. Think about frozen pizzas, chicken nuggets, even a lot of protein bars are ultra-processed. You have to really be careful with these because they're cheap, tasty, and convenient. Unprocessed foods are really more close to their natural state, like grass-fed meat, free-range eggs and poultry, wild-caught fish, even some sourdough, homemade bread. I do a little bit of this. I've tried. Thank you, Steve. You make it great. It's a lot of effort. But I love homemade sourdough bread. If I get carbs, that's one of the places I get them. Think about local, unprocessed, unfiltered honey from local honeybees. I have it in all my offices. I eat that daily. That's what I use as my sweetener. You know, most processed foods have engineering involved. To make them, companies, what they do is break down the whole foods and chemically modify them to create ingredients like soy protein isolates, maltodextrin, which is a sweetener made from corn syrup, rice, or other grains. I've even seen maltodextrin in some of the vitamins, which is one reason I started making my own vitamins that don't have these things in them. They can also include ingredients to enhance flavor, color, or texture. If you see the words on a label of a food that says good source of whole grains, low in sugar, even sometimes organic, they're probably ultra-processed. You don't see any kind of labels on whole foods. I want to go into why these ultra-processed foods affect your body, starting from the top down, starting with your brain. Foods high in refined carbohydrates and trans fats, they really enhance the reward systems of your brain, making them more addictive than whole foods. I mean, try to eat one chip versus an apple. There's a whole lot of difference. You can't eat just one potato chip. Now, move down to the mouth. You will eat more of the processed foods. You'll eat more calories in processed foods because they take most of the water out of the processed foods. And water fills you up. Water's good for you. So it makes these ultra-processed foods more dense, more energy dense. So absorb more calories from them. So it starts in the mouth. Think about your liver. This rapid rush of glucose and fructose overwhelms the liver capacity to detoxify. And so it causes visceral fat, and it also causes what we call fatty liver, which is so common. I see that in my office every day. Then it moves on to your small intestine. Most processed foods are already almost completely digested by the time they get out of your stomach and your small intestine. So they're digested very rapidly, these processed foods are. And that means more of the calories are absorbed. You know, you're not getting any that are passed through. So move on down to the large intestine. Highly processed foods change your gut microbiome. Remember, what you put in your mouth is very sensitive to these bacteria in your gut. It's always a balance between the good and the bacteria and the bad bacteria in your gut. So it changes your gut microbiome, these processed food stuffs, because they had things in them that our bodies weren't developed to handle. Our brains weren't developed to handle them either. So these highly processed foods are, of course, linked to obesity and type 2 diabetes. I mean, that goes without saying. But remember, these gut bacteria, you have more DNA in these bacteria in your gut than you do your own DNA by, many, many times more bacteria. So they really control your own DNA. And so when that changed, they changed your DNA for the worse. And that really, it's called epigenetics. Look it up. So your whole brain and body are changed. Remember that gut-brain connection? Very important in your health. So these bacteria in your gut know what you're eating, and they transmit it to the brain. You get changes in your DNA. I mean, your body changes into a whole different, it morphs into a different shape, character. Your brain doesn't work as good. Think dinosaur brain. Dinosaurs are huge creatures with small brains. That's what happens when you get obese. You have a smaller brain. There's no doubt about it. It's proven. So think about the gut-brain connection. So the health risks are great by eating these ultra-processed foods. We can't totally avoid these things. I guess some people maybe can. That's very few, though. Most of us live in the real world, and we can't grow everything we eat and have pastured everything. Wish we could. But there's many, many studies that I read that show people on these ultra-processed foods not only consume more calories and gain more weight, but they had way more disease. These ultra-processed foods don't satisfy you, so you want to eat more of them. And they're more absorbable, they're more energy dense anyway. Besides that, they're carcinogenic. They cause tumors, they cause cancer. So it's no wonder that this country is so fat and full of disease. Way more than even third world countries. I mean, think of all the money we spend on our health care. Just unbelievable amounts more than any other country by far. And our health is so bad. The root cause of it is all this processed food. I'm telling you, it's all comes from the food we eat. So what do? Well, choose whole foods for one thing, with fewer added ingredients. Start reading labels and start skipping labels. Eat the food in the periphery of the grocery store. If you have to eat processed foods, say mac and cheese, you had to get it from a box. At least add some fresh broccoli to it, or plain fruits or veggies. Eat more grass-fed beef. Eat more wild chicken. Eggs, pasture eggs. Don't eat out as much. Shop the periphery of the store. Everybody knows that. So you can avoid going to the pharmacy in the food store that you go to, the grocery stores. It's unbelievable to me that most grocery stores have a pharmacy in it. It kind of really is a cause and effect. You eat the terrible foods in there, then you have to go to the pharmacy in the same building to get stuff because your stomach's hurting, or because you're fat, or because you feel bad. All these medicines that we use that we don't really need if you just take care of yourself. So think about what you're eating. Think about processed foods. You simply have to eat better if you want to stay healthy for a long time. Your brain will work better. You'll have less fat, more muscle. You'll move better. You'll communicate better with people. Your joints won't get so arthritic. You won't have the brain fog you have after you eat sugar. So think about these things. Think about processed foods, eating more clean, whole foods. If you have a problem with it, come and let us look at you. One thing I love about the InBody 750 that we measure people's visceral fat with, it's just an amazing, very accurate tool to see what's going on with your body. So I hope this helps. think about what you put in your mouth today and for the rest of your life, and your kids as well. I hope this helps. It's Dr. Tom Rogers, the Common Sense MD. I'll see you next week.